Hello and welcome to a brief tutorial on the Voyager pick and scan function. Voyager pick and scan is a way to perform operations on a large number of items all at the same time. And it has gained a lot of features in the last few years that make it much more functional for use at WRLC. And so I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to walk through how you can use pick and scan, and some tips for getting the most out of the. Okay, you'll begin, of course, by logging into your Voyager cataloging module, um, and from there we will go to File and Pick and Scan. And you're presented with this first somewhat intimidating looking screen with a lot of options. And today for my demonstration, I'm going to be marking about 15 items from UDC all at once. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing their permanent location and their holding location. So one of the things, the first step in this process is to talk about the changes you're going to make to these objects. As I said, today I'm going to be changing the locations. And so this first area is where you would do things like that. You can change perm, temp, and holding locations. You can make changes to the number of copies. There are things like suppressing from OPAC that can be done in a large group. If you have self-check, there are ways to either sensitize or desensitize a large number of objects. Again, there's some of these are self-explanatory, but as you can see, there's a lot of things that you can do to a large number of objects. So once I have determined the changes I'm going to make, now, one of the advantages of pick and scan now is before you were somewhat limited in the record identifier you could use. As you can see now, you can use item IDs, bib IDs. Today I'll be using barcodes. An important block to note is here. Do you want to perform these changes just against the item? So particularly if you're using the item barcode, would it be against that item, or you could track those changes back to the holding record, all items on the holding record. So be careful with this. I should mention that pick and scan, because you're doing a large volume of work, there's the potential to mismark a large number of items at the same time. Luckily, again, the new version of pick and scan has some features that should prevent you from doing this. It's also important to note that while I am going to be working off of a list, a text file, a long list of barcodes, you can enter whichever identifier you choose, in this case barcodes, one by one, and you would put them in here and then click this checkbox to actually process. And even that can offer some, is faster than working on these objects one at a time, by entering the barcode in the standard cataloging section of Voyager cataloging. So it's important to note that feature. It's important when especially when you're first getting to know pick and scan, to mark your objects first in the preview mode. That way nothing is actually changed, and pick and scan gives you a nice display of the actual changes you're going to make. For my demonstration today, I'm going to be marking a list of barcodes, and so I wanted to open up that text file of the barcodes, because you'll have a lot more luck with pick and scan if this text file list is structured properly. So I've just opened it in Notepad, and the things I wanted to point out is basically you want them to have a long list one line for each barcode or bib ID or item ID, whatever you're running through. Make sure there is a carriage return after every barcode, and including the very last barcode. And again, you can save this as a simple text file, and then you will open that text file here in the file section after you've chosen what operation you're going to do. So I open up my text file, it loads it there, and again I'm going to preview this first, and I'm going to click Process File. And as I said before, the pick and scan feature provides a decent amount of information about the changes you have performed. Again, this is preview mode, so this is just showing if you were to update the database, these are the changes that would be made. And you can see on this particular barcode, on the before column, the holding location and permanent location were this. In the after column, the two things that were changed were the holding and permanent location. Everything else stays the same. So if it all looks good, if that's the only thing being changed and all the changes look good, we will actually keep the file there and go to update database. Now obviously, running a preview on 5,000 barcodes is not practical, so in that case I would probably recommend just running a subset of the data through the preview just to check, and then actually doing your update database. So everything looks good, and we're going to update the database, and it runs through the 15 pretty quickly. And now that we're done, we can either print the list if we wanted to really waste paper, or we can save the log file. And for this demonstration, I'll just save it in the same place, mark it as done, and then the output that you see here will be saved. I wanted to go over one tip regarding the size of files. For this demonstration, I just ran a small file of 15 barcodes or 20 barcodes. I've certainly done much larger batches than that. During the retention marking, I did 15,000 barcodes at a time, but I did want to say that there is a limit to how much you can run through pick and scan. I arrived at the 10 to 15,000 number somewhat through trial and error. If you run too many, it will crash Voyager pick and scan, crash the Voyager cataloging. So with that in mind, I would probably recommend staying between 5 and 10,000 barcodes or bib IDs. Some of it depends on how much you're changing in these records, but you wouldn't want it to crash in the middle of things, because then you have to figure out which barcode it left off on when it crashed. And the problem also is, if it crashes before the job finishes, then you don't get a log file for that job. It wouldn't necessarily harm any records, but again, you have to figure out where you left off, and you lose the log for anything that happened before that. So don't try to mark 200,000 objects at a time. Break it up into small jobs, and after you've run your 5 or 10,000 barcodes, you definitely want to save the file, and then close out of pick and scan and reopen pick and scan. If you try to stack 10,000 barcode jobs onto pick and scan, it will have a cumulative effect, and it will eventually crash. It just can't handle the scope and scale that we would necessarily like it to. So I wish you all the best. Pick and scan is a powerful tool, as long as you are aware of its limitations and are careful. So thanks a lot, and have a great day.